After my husband cheated, I fell into a deadly web of love. When we first got married, my husband had a strong desire. Later, he said he was tired of me and got entangled with the female secretary. To get back at him, I started seeing someone I met online, only to find out he was a handsome colleague from the company. But after we met in person, he almost cost me my life. My name is Sylvia. Liam and I have been a couple since college and got married shortly after graduation. We have been married for 4 years without children, and after a checkup, we found out Liam has azoospermia. I still chose to continue this marriage, and for his pride, we told others we were a child-free couple. At first, we were close, but after my husband started his business, he spent less time with me and hired a beautiful female secretary. One rare time we were together, he fell asleep during foreplay. I made a scene, but he said he was doing it to give me a better life and even said he could fire the secretary. I felt a bit ashamed. Later, I fully supported him, but he started coming home later and later. He didn't come back on our wedding anniversary either, and the phone was answered by his female secretary, Selena, whose tone was ambiguous. The call was soon cut off, leaving me uneasy. Just as I was drowning my sorrows in alcohol, Liam sent me a video. I confirmed that he had an improper relationship with Selena, and it seemed it wasn't just once. At the end of the video, Selena even provocatively looked into the camera, making me feel challenged. Looking at everything before me, I was both angry and unwilling to accept it. To support his startup, I gave my dowry and bride price, worked hard to balance my job and household chores, and now I was quite worn out, while Selena was full of energy. I couldn't help but wonder if I had lost my appeal to men. To prove something and vent my frustration, I downloaded a dating app. My colleague Joyce said there were many handsome guys on the app, and many young people in the company were using it. Driven by the alcohol, I changed into a more revealing outfit and posted a status: "Is it my fault that my husband doesn't want to come home?" In less than a minute, a flood of private messages popped up, all full of praise. My original sadness vanished, replaced by a hint of excitement. Just as I was about to delete the post, an avatar caught my eye. The profile picture resembled the company director Chris in profile. He is widely recognized as handsome and very charming. Perhaps driven by vanity, I opened his message. Seeing the physique he displayed, I couldn't help but imagine him as Chris. The long-term repression stirred emotions in me triggered by this Chris look-alike. He sent a video, and my heart raced as I boldly clicked to watch it. The image was a bit blurry, but the sense of interaction made my fantasy feel more real. He seemed to guess my state of mind. Although shy, I didn't want to stop and felt increasingly encouraged, no longer caring about Liam's opinion. I grew more and more excited, gradually lowering my guard, wanting to feel that long-lost joy. Then, his screen went black for a few seconds. When it reappeared, the scene had changed. I was shocked by what I saw, and after the initial surprise, my emotions became hard to control. Chris's face became increasingly clear in my mind. I was surprised by my own boldness, but that impulse could no longer be stopped. My body, suppressed for so long and naturally sensitive, was now slightly intoxicated, and the man kept talking. The next morning, my throat was already hoarse. Liam sent an apology message, saying he had to go on a business trip overnight, but I no longer cared. Besides, Selena, thinking she was clever, retracted the video, but I had already saved it immediately. I had completely calmed down and realized that Selena was just a way for Liam to pass the time. She didn't know how much she would pay for this moment of arrogance. I took a few days off, went to the beauty salon, and went shopping, only to realize how much happiness I had missed because of Liam. Besides interacting with that man late at night, I also contacted a lawyer at a high cost and began investigating Liam's company. Sure enough, he was already transferring our joint assets, using Selena's information. No wonder she was so brazen, it seems Liam had deceived her. Over the years, he has become very calculating. That money not only won't end up in her pocket, but will also become his scapegoat. Fortunately, the $600,000 I invested back then was under a signed agreement. Otherwise, if it came to a lawsuit, I would have to swallow this bitter loss. Now, 3 years have passed, and Liam's company has opened 3 branches. Apart from occasionally buying me gifts, I haven't seen a single dividend. Calculated roughly, it should be worth a few million. Just thinking about soon breaking away from him and still getting compensation makes me feel relieved. On this workday, I dressed beautifully yet elegantly, radiating a strong aura. Just as I was about to greet the security guard Leon, he stopped me. "Hey beautiful, never seen you before. Outsiders need to register here with me." Looking at his slightly sleazy smile and the way he appraised me from head to toe, I was momentarily stunned. I had never seen him act so greasy. Before, he helped me move equipment, and I occasionally offered him a drink. I had the impression he was an honest man. I was just about to take out my work ID when someone bumped into me. A cold liquid seeped through my back, and I uncontrollably leaned forward. Unexpectedly, Leon took the opportunity to hold me, his rough hands resting on my lower back. I tried to break free but was met with his greasy smile as he leaned his nose close to my neck. I was instantly disgusted and slapped him hard. "Pervert. Do you want me to report you?" As I struggled to break free, my collar was torn open a bit, and I hurriedly grabbed at it. The people waiting for the elevator immediately cast curious glances our way. Leon's face turned bright red with anger, and his eyes showed a hint of malice. But then, the look in his eyes changed to one of delight, and he said in a flattering tone, "Oh, it's you, beautiful lady. You've changed so much. I thought you were some boss's mistress. What a misunderstanding." I could tell his apology wasn't sincere because his eyes never stopped sizing me up. It was my first time hitting someone, and in public no less. Afraid he might hold a grudge, I didn't press the matter any further. But what I didn't expect even more was that the one who bumped into me was Chris. "I'm really sorry, I was so focused on my phone that I got your clothes dirty. I'll make it up to you." When I looked at his face, some scenes from last night flashed through my mind, and my face instantly turned red. Moreover, I caught a glimpse of his phone screen, which was still on that app interface. Could it be? Was that person last night really him? I didn't dare stay any longer, ignoring his attempts to stop me, and rushed into the elevator. Without caring about the coffee-stained clothes, I kept replaying this absurd situation in front of my computer. All day long, I found myself unconsciously glancing toward Chris's workstation. Unexpectedly, he was looking at me too. I lowered my head like a thief, afraid of being noticed. The next moment, a message popped up on the app. "I recognized you, Sylvia. It's him. He must be Chris." I almost exclaimed out loud, but the feeling that surged in my heart was not fear, but excitement. A bold idea formed in my mind, and just as I was about to reply, Liam's call came through. "Honey, why haven't you replied to my messages? Are you mad again?" That word again successfully ignited my anger. From the moment I found out about his affair, most of my love for him disappeared. Hearing his voice now still makes me feel disgusted. "I'm busy, just say what you need to say." Liam sighed, his tone instantly turning irritated. "Isn't that just you being mad? I've already told you the branch office has been busy lately, I can't leave. Selena has been working overtime with me every day and hasn't said a word. Is it really that hard for you, as my wife, to be understanding? Am I short of money for you to spend, or have I wronged you somehow?" Listening to his words, I was so speechless that I almost laughed out loud. In the past, I always accommodated him in every way and rarely showed my displeasure because I considered him the person to spend the rest of my life with. But I never expected that spoiling him would only make him more arrogant. Now he is no longer that person, and those concessions are no longer necessary. "I'm not angry, it's you who keeps pestering me, saying that since you're so free, you might as well quickly transfer the dividends to me. Your business is booming now, but I, as an investor, haven't received a single cent. Isn't that unreasonable?" Upon hearing this, Liam nervously changed the subject. Stop it, honey, I know you're just saying that out of anger. I had Selena send your anniversary gift to your office. I'll be home for dinner tonight. I slammed the phone down. Who cares about your lousy gift? Just after I finished scolding him, Selena's call came through again. I felt a stir in my heart and secretly told Joyce to record the call for me, then immediately put it on speakerphone. If you want to show off, I'll give you the chance. Sister-in-law, you're not angry because of what happened last night, are you? Liam and I were just playing a game, though it was a bit risque. If you can't handle it, it'll only make Liam the joke of the other bosses. A wife shouldn't be so petty, right? Selena's sharp voice echoed through the office, and colleagues all perked up their ears. I stammered for a long time, unable to speak out of grievance. Seeing me at a loss, Selena grew more excited. I drank too much yesterday, and Liam insisted on taking care of me all night, couldn't get rid of him. Also, I picked out this anniversary gift for you, but Liam said you're older now, so this necklace suits me better. Just now, I accidentally chipped it while trying it on, but Liam said you wouldn't mind, right? I suddenly stood up, my voice already trembling with tears. Selena, I know you're young and beautiful, but I truly feel sorry for you. You have to work during the day and at night you have to submit to my husband, being used by him as a tool for release. It's all my fault for not satisfying him. That's why you ended up like this. That necklace is what you deserve, consider it the bonus I'm paying you on his behalf. After saying that, I started sobbing. Selena didn't expect me to break the script and got so angry she started cursing outright. Sylvia. Who are you indirectly insulting? Who asked you to play the good person? Liam already said, even if you stripped naked and twisted yourself into a flower, he still wouldn't get hard. For years and no kids, it's your fault you can't keep a man. I'm laying it out straight, he said, once I get pregnant, he'll divorce you. As soon as I heard this, I almost lost my composure. Selena was completely being played by Liam. She had no idea that the man she had been with for over 3 years was completely infertile. And I had been defending Liam's reputation for so long, yet he trampled on my dignity like this behind my back. I held back my anger and apologized repeatedly while holding the phone. I'm sorry, Selena, I didn't mean it like that. I didn't know you were the type who would sleep with someone without asking for money. Ah. Before I could finish speaking, Selena exploded with a scream in anger. I decisively hung up the phone, crouched on the ground crying uncontrollably, while quickly sending the video to Liam. Joyce secretly gave a thumbs up to my smooth and swift operation. My colleagues came over one after another to comfort me, and Chris was even more upfront. Don't be afraid, that mistress is way too arrogant. It's all my fault for bringing bad luck to you early this morning. I looked at him with tear-blurred eyes, but Chris couldn't help but stroke my head. In his eyes, besides apology, there was also pity. My heart pounded wildly, as if we were having a secret affair across the crowd. I was almost addicted to this feeling. I just realized that there was actually a little devil living in my heart. I don't know if it was desire or vanity, but looking at Chris's handsome face, my heart couldn't stop fluttering, and that wicked thought popped up again. But the sound of high heels clacking came from the stairs, along with Leon's shouting. Hey, beauty, you can't just barge in. Liam's phone kept ringing non-stop. It seems this drama isn't over yet. Old woman. I told you to stop pretending. What capital do you think you have to compete with me? Selena shouted angrily, throwing the gift box in her hand at me. I kept my eyes tightly shut, but there was no pain as I had expected. Instead, my forehead was firmly pressed against a warm and solid chest, and a muffled groan came from above my head. Chris had protected me completely. The female colleagues immediately became restless. They couldn't stand to see the company's only handsome guy being bullied, and they were also glad that I usually got along well with them. This is really eye-opening. I've only seen mistresses being beaten, never a mistress coming to declare her claim. Others who have legal marriage certificates are protected by law. What kind of shameless act is this, pretending to be deeply in love and trying to act all tough? Exactly. She came straight up and hit our director, with so many eyes watching us. We heard everything clearly just now. She's just confirming her status as a mistress. Call the police. Some people, they slave away like beasts during the day, and at night they still have to be ridden by others. How pitiful. Normally, workers are always frustrated, but now someone came looking for trouble. Several colleagues directly confronted Selena, leaving her speechless. Many people recorded the entire incident. Her eyes were red from being scolded, but she stared fixedly at me, clearly very angry. Liam also arrived just in time. Before I, the rightful wife, could even complain, Selena threw herself into Liam's arms, her red lips slightly curled, looking so wronged that it broke Liam's heart. Liam. I just came to give a gift to my sister-in-law. Just because I tried on a necklace once, she led everyone to scold me and even called me shameless. He glared at me angrily, and his words severed the last ties between us. Sylvia. How could you become like this? Where did the you from before go? It was you who wanted to keep Selena. Without her, the company wouldn't have reached its current scale. The money you spent, didn't Selena have a share of it? Otherwise, how could a plain woman like you become the boss's wife? Truly a greasy stud pretending to be sentimental, spouting nonsense depending on his mood. Confronting him so quickly in person really gave Selena a hand. She thought she had the upper hand and kept adding fuel to the fire for Liam. Liam, I've borne this bad reputation for so long, do you still want to keep wronging me? You don't know how awful the things they just said were. I've lost my reputation, it would be better if I were dead. Selena wanted to rush to the railing but was grabbed by Liam. I wiped away my tears, took out a test report from my bag, and tremblingly threw it on the ground. Liam, I'm pregnant. If you insist on a divorce, I will agree. Upon hearing this, Liam was completely stunned. Selena was also shocked. She crawled over to pick up the paper, her eyes full of disbelief. But Liam didn't even look at the paper, he directly pointed at my nose and cursed. Bitch. How dare you cheat on me? Whose child is this? I gritted my teeth, tears streaming down. Liam, if you're a man, don't say such bullshit. Besides you, I've never been with anyone else. The child is yours. But I clearly. The air fell silent for a few seconds. Liam's face turned bright red, and those words, he was too guilty to say out loud. The crowd was buzzing with gossip, and Liam was almost exposed in public, so furious that he was about to hit me. I looked at his enraged face and felt utterly unfamiliar with him. Fortunately, I had already won the people's hearts. Are you even a man? Watching your wife being bullied and instead siding with the mistress. All these years, Sylvia's first thing after work every day was to come home and cook for you. She has no life on weekends, she gave you money to start your business, and still has to endure your bad temper. Men really shouldn't be spoiled. He'd rather have a child with that wild woman than trust his own wife. I really don't know what he's thinking. Maybe he just can't perform? Everyone chimed in one after another, and Liam's face grew darker and darker. After all, that secret was tied to his manly pride. At that moment, Selena's phone rang at just the right time, like a death warrant. She answered it blankly, but no one knew what was said on the other end. Her expression shifted from confusion to anger. I never made an appointment. Which hospital are you from, and what did you say? Azoospermia. As soon as these words came out, Liam's face turned completely pale. The probing gazes of everyone were like sharp swords, leaving him nowhere to hide. Last night, I used Liam's information to book an online consultation, but I left Selena's number. I didn't expect the timing to be so perfect. Seeing him at a loss, the sadness and satisfaction in my heart kept rising. But I wasn't sad for him, I was sad for my past self. Selena cried out in despair, grabbing Liam and questioning him relentlessly. Liam, how dare you lie to me? I wasted 3 years of my youth following you. You spoke so sweetly, but every time it was about business deals, you pushed me into the arms of those men. You painted such grand illusions for me, but in the end, you were utterly useless. The harsh insults left Liam with no strength to argue. At this moment, he completely lost his mind and slapped Selena across the face. But this scene was just witnessed by the police who had arrived. The scene had long been packed to the point of no passage. My lawyer also arrived in time. If it weren't for Selena's push, I wouldn't have been ready to confront Liam so quickly. Fortunately, I had been carrying that forged ultrasound report all along. For the next while, I kept going back and forth between the police station and the law firm. At the speed Liam was expanding, he simply couldn't have done it without those methods: various briberies, frauds, and even forcing Selena into flesh trade. Actually, I didn't find much evidence myself, everything was told by Selena. She had completely lost faith in Liam, and I persuaded her to confess everything on the condition that I would help her hire a lawyer. Even though Liam knelt and begged me, crying, tears streaming down his face, it only deepened the disgust in my heart. This marriage with Liam was like a stain on my life. After everything was settled, holding the divorce certificate and hearing the news of Liam's sentencing, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. During this time, I also caused quite a bit of trouble for the company, so I resigned to take a break. But Chris's concern for me didn't lessen. He left messages for me not only on Facebook but also on other apps. I chuckled softly. He was somewhat endearing, maintaining a gentle persona on Facebook and the apps despite his blunt words. On the first night after moving, I couldn't wait to open the app. The entire message was filled with his longing. He also sent some photos of his workouts. Reading those words stirred something in my heart. By the time I arrived at the company, it was already 8 o'clock. The office building was sparsely populated, with only a few scattered lights. A cold wind blew past, making me shiver. I remembered Joyce saying that there were homeless people nearby who had even attacked women. Although I was a bit scared, I couldn't suppress the anticipation inside me. Fortunately, the first floor was relatively bright. Thinking that the security office was nearby and picking up a package should be quick, I hurried into the elevator. Just as I pressed the floor button, the hallway motion sensor lights went out. Just as the elevator doors were about to close, there was a sudden bang. A pair of dark hands pressed against the door. I was startled and instinctively pulled my coat tighter. As the elevator doors opened again, it turned out to be Leon. He held a flashlight and gave me an embarrassed smile, saying he was on patrol. I responded curtly. But as the elevator ascended, Leon didn't reply and his gaze turned cold. Thinking about how he had touched me last time, I moved away with disgust, but he sneered coldly. Then, he glanced at the surveillance monitor with disdain and adjusted his belt in the mirror. The elevator was spacious, but he deliberately pressed close to me. That's when I noticed he hadn't pressed any floor buttons, so I asked. My sixth sense went off. I suspected he was going to take revenge. After all, I had slapped him last time. The more I thought about it, the more scared I became. I didn't dare look at him and regretted my harsh tone earlier. Just in case, I quickly called Chris, but there was no answer, so I sent a message for help through an app. At that moment, the software notification sounded in my ear. Leon took out his phone, and I sent another message to verify. His phone didn't ring again, so I breathed a sigh of relief, surprised that someone his age was still using this kind of app. I instinctively glanced at the surveillance, noticing the light was off. He noticed it too. He said he would catch the pervert, and I gave a nervous laugh. Then he started typing. I saw Chris's ID show the other party is typing. And heard him muttering curses under his breath. Suddenly, he turned his head to speak, and his breath hit my face. I got goosebumps and struggled to keep my thoughts clear, suspecting that the person on the app wasn't Chris. Leon's typing didn't stop, and I was filled with fear. Watching the elevator approach, every second felt like a year. Fortunately, Chris replied telling me to wait for him in the restroom. When the elevator arrived, I quickly stepped out, grabbed the package, and hid in the restroom. Chris was updating me on his whereabouts, asking if I had changed my clothes, but I had no mind to change just now, and the fear in my heart wouldn't dissipate. I really had no intention to change clothes earlier. For some reason, the fear inside me just wouldn't go away. But unable to bear his disappointed question, I hurriedly changed into the clothes. Unexpectedly, this one was even bolder than the last one I wore. It showed off my figure, and a slight turn might cause a wardrobe malfunction. Yet, it did add a special feeling indeed. Just as I was looking into the mirror, click! The door lock turned. I was so scared I almost lost my balance. Then came the sound of knocking on the door. Fortunately, it was Chris. "I'm here, you can come out now. I can't wait to see you wearing it." I was a bit puzzled. It was just the two of us, so why wasn't Chris speaking and instead typing at the door? To be safe, I stayed silent and sent a message. "Chris, is that you?" A notification sounded outside. "It's me, open the door." "Why aren't you speaking?" "I want to confirm it's you before opening." The knocking stopped. "Why are you even scaring me?" "I'm here to protect you, hurry and open the door." "Is it fun to keep me hanging?" "If you don't open, I'm leaving." "Open the door." "I damn well told you to open the door." "Open the door." Chris's tone grew increasingly impatient. Towards the end, he was almost mechanically repeating those two words. The doubts in my heart grew heavier, and fear gnawed at my sanity like hundreds of ants. Immediately after, Chris called. I trembled as I answered. "Sylvia, is it urgent?" "I just went to take a shower." "Why are you going to the office now?" "It's not very safe over there at night." "How about I come pick you up?" Chris's caring words pierced my eardrums, but I stared blankly at the door. Because there was no sound outside at all. Yet, through the crack in the door, I could see that swaying shadow. The next second, the door slammed loudly. Bang! Ah! I could no longer suppress the fear inside me and screamed out loud. Chris on the other end of the phone couldn't sit still either. "What exactly is going on, Sylvia? Are you still at the office? Who is there?" I was so scared that I was gasping for breath, unable to speak properly. "Save me, Chris, come to the company quickly. Call the police. Leon is right outside the bathroom." "What's going on?" "Find a place to hide first, don't confront him head on." Hearing that he had been exposed, Leon no longer tried to hide it. He laughed wildly while banging on the door, completely deranged. "Come out, aren't you looking forward to it? This is the 33rd floor, do you want to jump? Don't do anything foolish." I struggled to steady my nerves and hurriedly put on my coat. But looking around, there was no other way out. Only two windows without sills. The thought that the person I had been ambiguous with for so long, the one I confided in, was actually Leon made me uneasy again. He had seen such a private side of me, and that discomfort surged back. Moreover, I recalled the details Joyce had mentioned. That homeless man is very familiar with this place and always manages to avoid the surveillance cameras. Even if a report is filed, there is no concrete evidence. No wonder they can't catch him. It seems very likely that the pervert is Leon. His threats kept disturbing me. Seeing no way to escape, all I could do was wait and try to stall for time. "You heard that too, Leon. I've already called the police, and they'll be here soon. You haven't committed a crime yet, you can still turn back." But my persuasion only seemed to excite him. "Now you're threatening me? I recorded everything when you were defending yourself. Do you want to become famous?" I actually forgot about that. A wave of shame swept over me again. Seeing my silence, he grew even more smug. He somehow grabbed an axe and swung it at me with full force. Bang! Several cracks immediately appeared on the door. I was so scared that I stepped back. But he completely enraged me as well. You're crazy, but I'm crazier. I looked to the left side of the door. The wall there was somewhat thick, and right next to it was a sink. I grabbed a mop and jumped up. This blind spot would at least give me 2 seconds to strike. I held back my discomfort and tried to appease him. Actually, trying it with you is fine too, after all. As soon as I said this, Leon stopped swinging the axe, and his laughter changed from wild to lecherous. See, you women, just open the door obediently, and I promise I won't make it too unpleasant for you. Then put the axe away. What if you hurt me? If I get nervous later, no one will enjoy this. Seeing how thoughtful I was, I heard the sound of a heavy object hitting the ground. I kept my word and slowly twisted the door lock. He was impatient and kicked the door open. The moment he stuck his head out, I swung the mop in my hand fiercely at him, hitting his forehead squarely. He was completely unprepared and fell backward onto the ground. At that moment, I felt as if I was unleashed with infinite potential. I jumped down, my mind focused on only one thing: I had to fight back. I struck him 3 or 4 times in a row, but due to the earlier tension, my hands trembled uncontrollably, and my blows were too weak to knock him down. I shook my hand to strike again, but he unexpectedly grabbed the mop with his other hand and pulled it forward, causing me to fall onto him. His forehead was slightly swollen, sweat covering his face, and that smile-filled face looked even more terrifying. Soon, he flipped me over and pinned me down, slapping me twice. At that moment, numbness outweighed the pain. My vision blurred for a moment. But fear and anger forced me to struggle. While he was unbuttoning his belt with one hand and unable to hold me down with the other, I took the chance to bend my knees and push upward. His face twisted in pain as his whole body fell to the side. With a loud thud, his head struck the axe blade hard, blood continuously seeping out. Urgent footsteps came from not far away. Sylvia. But I only felt everything in my mind shaking, sharp sounds ringing in my ears. Even when Chris held me in his arms, I kept trembling, tears flowing uncontrollably. Watching Leon being carried into the ambulance, blood stained the doctor's white coat. In the following days, I was in a daze. Without Joyce and Chris by my side, I simply couldn't fall asleep. After investigation, it turned out that Leon had been committing crimes for a long time. Using his work as a cover, he not only knew their work schedules but also took the opportunity to pry into many private matters and even accessed surveillance footage. Whenever he saw a target that suited his fancy, he would disguise himself as a handsome guy, steal others' photos, and lure them in various ways. To make the act more convincing, he even learned to use apps popular with young people, making it nearly impossible to guard against him. I didn't want him to get away again, so I joined forces with several victims to file a complaint. Unexpectedly, within just a few months, I became a regular at both the court and the police station. After the lesson with Liam, I thought I was smart enough never to be deceived by men again, but I didn't expect desire to cloud my judgment. What scared me the most was that they were all people I knew well. Later, after a long period of psychological counseling, I was finally able to communicate with others again. When Chris found out about what happened between Leon and me, he didn't choose to distance himself. Instead, he launched a strong offensive toward me. But I immediately blocked him. Although I'm grateful he saved me at that time, who can guarantee he had no other motives? After all, he's still using that app to this day.